Gamehole Con is a gaming convention held in Madison, Wisconsin in November. We asked some game masters to run games under the Gaming in BS banner. We wanted to know more about those games and to share the details with you. So thank you to all these game masters for putting their reputation on the line, and we hope that you can make it to Gamehole Con. We'd love to see you. So I am with Gabe. Gabe, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Gabe has opted to run a game under our banner at Gamehole Con in November, the first weekend of November here in Madison, Wisconsin. Gabe, where are you from?
I'm actually from Winona, Minnesota.
Is this going to be
where I'm sitting right now?
Is this going to be your first Gamehole Con?
This is my first Gamehole Con, and it's my first convention, my first gaming convention, actually, of this type.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're going to have a blast, man. I hope we do a good job of impressing you, because we know if you turn somebody onto RPGs and you don't impress them, then you could probably run them out of the hobby.
Oh, well, yeah. I hope I don't run them out of the hobby for going in there and running a game.
No, not at all. So tell us a little bit about the game. What's the title of the game?
Well, I recently discovered it, actually, and I think it was because I was on Cubicle 7. It's a British publisher. I was on their website because of the press they're getting for their 5e Lord of the Rings supplemental material. And I guess they published the One Ring. Maybe they lost the property now, or I don't know how that licensing works. But while I was there, I noticed Yggdrasill, which is the Norse world tree. And of course, he influenced Tolkien quite a bit. And I bet you they're using a lot of their talent to do both games. There's a lot of overlap there, but I'm a Norsophile, as I would call it. That northern thing that is in Tolkien has, spoken to me quite a bit since I first discovered the Lord of the Rings. And I've read a number of novels by Poul Anderson in the sword and sorcery vein, using the Vikings. Of course, Robert E. Howard uses it quite a bit. I'm into that kind of vibe. And so I have another Viking friend who moved away now. So I'm in Winona, Minnesota. He moved to South Dakota, I believe he is. So I got the PDF of Yggdrasill, and I think the system looks really cool. I really like the setting, and he and I might be running something. But since I was most excited about that, I decided, you know what, this doesn't have a lot of visibility as far as I can tell at Gamehole Con, and I should just jump all in and run something. So I'm going to run this.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks.
Now, Gabe had written us, and he said, Sean, I was kind of on the fence. I don't know if I have time, and folks have just, because it's my first con, should I just, they kind of told me I should just go and kind of absorb it all. And not run a game. And I'm like, just run a game. And I've talked to a couple people that I meet up with here in Madison, Eric Farmer and a couple others, Kevin Lovecraft, who's on Google Plus, and mentioned this. And they're like, just have them run. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. There's no better way to just get right in and, neck deep into it.
Sweet. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So what's the scenario? Is it, when are you running it? What day?
Oh, so it turns out, this is all a new culture for me. So when I first got on, and maybe you'll ask this question, what am I most excited for? I guess that's another reason to be running the game too, is hopefully more and more games get posted, because it looks like the most attractive ones are filling up. But I did get in, I'm most interested in Jeffrey Talanian's Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. So I'm like, that guy, I want to make a connection to that guy. And so I got in on 2 of his games. So one starts at 10 o'clock on Friday. And so when I looked at the schedule, that goes 4 hours. So after 2, so I think that's when I requested was 4 o'clock, either on a Friday or a Saturday. So I think it's scheduled for 4 to 8 on a Friday. That gives me a couple hours to clear my head or come down from the excitement and get calm and reserved, and then run my game.
Yeah, it's a good thing if you're running an event and you're playing in events to make sure you might have a little gap, unless you're really like, I'm okay as soon as one ends, firing mine up. But so have you gotten the okay from Gamehole? Because you just submitted it.
Yeah, it's in. Yeah, it's in the catalog now.
Okay, awesome. And I think as of this recording, which is October 2nd, I think the event registration is going to be closing soon. But
the 12th, I believe.
The 12th.
The 12th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as this drops, I think I'm going to see if I can get it to drop tomorrow, the 3rd, for folks that haven't, maybe are looking for an event. Certainly check out Gabe's. If it does not fill up, you can go there to Gamehole, and then there'll be big plasma screens that list all the games that are available. So yours, if it doesn't fill, it'll be listed, Gabe.
Okay,
is what I'm trying to say. So just because it's late in the game, don't fret if all your slots aren't taken.
Sure.
So what's the scenario? Can you talk about that briefly?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I tried to give in the description that I sent Gamehole a little bit of the flavor that it'll be. And really, so I have 8 pre-gens, and if I get 8 people, which would be awesome, then they just have to take all those and they have to fight over who they want to play. And really, it's just Viking adventure. And so I'm going to have some fights with rival families, an old vendetta that's going on. And that will really I imagine that my players are not going to be Yggdrasill players. So I'm creating like my own kind of homebrewed character sheets that kind of explain how the system works at the same time. Of course, I'll have cheat sheets. And that there'll be a combat to get them used to combat, and then on their way, which really here's the scenario. The son of the Jarl, that's basically a chieftain, a Viking chieftain, in an encounter with a dragon, encountered dragon sickness, and he is on death's door, or just not quite the same. And so a Volva, or someone who can basically read the future and stuff, learned that probably there is some help for him from people who are undead, whites, who live in Hauganai, which is basically, you could translate to the Barrow Isles. So our adventurers, part of this family, and it writes itself very neatly, are being sent on this mission to go ask a boon of Skaflock. And I named him after basically the hero from Poul Anderson's The Broken Sword. Go ask a boon from Skaflock to try to figure out what they can do about this young chieftain. There you go.
That sounds great. It sounds like you've got things squared away. I'm very impressed for somebody who hasn't run a game at a con. I mean, you're talking about 8 pre-gens, cheat sheets. You got your scenario all set up. You know that most of the players may not know the system, so you're going to kind of walk them through that. That's fantastic, man.
Thanks. Well,
seriously.
I have a lot of since RiverQuest Games in Winona opened up a couple years ago, and I've had the good fortune of having a group, largely strangers. They just kind of gathered around me on Sunday afternoons. I mentioned to you that I was coming here after a game. I had a surprise, and yeah, I can roll with punches. I had to surprisingly roll a session of Cypher today. I wasn't expecting to have to GM, but our guest GM did not show. And I said, well, what do you guys want to do? And it went really well. It's a good time. I guess I kind of thrive on the improv aspect, but I am a little bit more nervous about having some people I only know for 4 hours, and I want to show them a good time. So it's really, you approach it the way you would write a short story. And I'm gonna run it a couple times. I'm gonna play test it. I think I'm gonna do it with 2 groups. Right now, I've been running the pre-gens through some of the encounters I have, seeing how the dice will fall, and learning a lot of interesting things. So hopefully I'm prepared. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. No, I'm sure you'll do fantastic. I'm sure and it's a good crowd. So they'll
nice.
I'm sure, hopefully help you out in that respect as players. Now, what else are you looking forward to doing at Gamehole? You mentioned the Swords of Hyperborea game. What else?
I would love to make some connections with Matt Finch and the Swords and Wizardry crowd. What's happened to me is, and one of the reasons why I have a guest GM is my first game was Pathfinder. I mean, that's not my first game. Not to get into my whole history of gaming, but recently, because I had this opportunity to start playing again about a couple of years ago, I just started running Pathfinder because it seemed cool. But now we're at level 9, and I have one player in particular who's a confessed addict to min-maxing, and Pathfinder's eating my brain at level 9, not having any fun. So But so what I've obviously been very attractive to what they're calling these retro clones, and Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers is one of them. And I'm a literary guy, so I love the Weird Tales thing that Jeffrey Trelanian's inserted into that. But swords and wizardry I'm attracted to because of just the openness of it, because of that, the OSR, the old school Renaissance, I recently learned that stands for, kind of thing to it, even though I never played original D&D in my heyday. I like that, and I just like just the gritty, pulpy, just grind of it. I like the idea that there could be player fatalities in it, and that people should be okay with that. So I'm getting ready. I'm looking at that, and my players, I don't know what we're gonna do. I'm committed to seeing them through level 21, so they get to play as level 20. We're doing this. Yeah, we're not even bookkeeping anymore. It doesn't really matter. But once we get there, I'm really gonna push for probably some OSR stuff, probably swords and wizardry, because I like how it seems open enough that I can start just really kind of making my own content for it. So it would be nice to touch base with Matt Finch. I'm really impressed with what I've learned about him and Frog God Games, I believe it is, that publishes that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they have a really nice northern thing too, the Northlanders saga or something, which is I'm a little bit scared by the price tag right now, but if I run into him, he's like, it's awesome, then I might actually have to go over to the vendors and pick it up. You never know. You go to a con to spend a lot of money, right? So I'd like to make contact with him, and but the things that I see, they're either filled up, filled up, or they just seem kind of intimidating for me, being a newbie at a con, because it seems like some of the stuff's been going on for years, and I'm not sure how. Again, part of me, I'm going to be really excited to learn what the culture of a gaming convention is all about, because it seems it's different. I mentioned to you guys, my experience with conventions have been more literary conventions. I've been a World Fantasy Convention a couple times, and a couple conventions along those lines, Odyssey Con in Wisconsin.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know a few of the folks that have been involved heavily with Odyssey Con. Joe Alfano has been in the most recent years, and he'll be there at Gamehole Con in the Adventure League, and helping out those folks with the D&D 5e Adventurers League.
Nice.
Yeah, yep. So if you've run into Joe at Odyssey Con, he'll be there. But yeah,
I don't know if I would place him, but I liked Odyssey Con because I ran into, so it was Harlan Ellison, supposedly his last thing, and so that was interesting, meeting that character. And then I can't remember Alan Steele. I ran into this guy, interesting character, as I was smoking cigars outside the hotel. And it's funny how so hopefully I run into Matt Finch. Maybe you don't even know who he is, but there's these close encounters, because with Alan Steele, he's just an interesting character, but fascinating. Not someone I would imagine myself hanging out with. And then later on, I start reading these brilliant stories in Asimov's, and sure enough, it's this guy, Alan Steele. So never know what future or current stars you're going to run into.
That's right. And they're all very approachable at Gamehole Con, as we mentioned on the podcast. One of the things that Alex does when he invites them and to be guests is you have to be out. You have to run games, and you have to be accessible. You can't show up for an hour and then go and hide in your hotel room. And so, some of the folks that we know in gaming, and Matt, if he's there, or he will be there, don't be intimidated either, Gabe. Everybody's very open. It took me a long time to get into a con and sit down and actually play in events, because I'm like, I don't know how to register. I don't know if I have to bring anything, and all that. It just gets kind of, once you get into it, you put it to the side and you just show up to the table and they got everything you need. Maybe bring your dice, and even dice, people are going to have sets of dice at the table. They'll just like, here, roll some of mine. It's all good.
Sweet. All right.
So we look forward to seeing you there, man. We're happy. Thanks for choosing to run it under our banner. I'm sure you're probably going to be one of the highlights of the con for us. No pressure, Gabe.
Sure. All right.
Otherwise, make sure you come up, and we'll introduce everything. Saturday night, we're having a big soiree for everybody, having beer at the Clarion. So everybody will be eating. If you got a game, that's fine. We'll probably still be in the Clarion late into the wee hours. So
cool. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Well, thanks. Well, again, I'll let you go. Thanks so much, Gabe. We appreciate
All
it.
right. Cool.